watching Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV. Today's guest is the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, Henry Rotich. By all accounts, and panel, correct me if I'm wrong, our economy is growing. If the economy is growing, why can't we afford to pay public workers better?
Very important. We have actually improved public sector pay over the recent past significantly. And it's very important because, you know, as the economy grows, we of course expect our public servants to contribute in this growth, and we have to remunerate them well. If you look at what we have done over the recent past, the public sector wage remuneration has actually been fast harmonized, because if you look at the big challenge that we had before, is that because of the sectors bargaining on their own, they have created a bit of the distortion. And what happened over the recent past is that we have brought these together in harmony, so that civil servants working in a particular ministry get the same pay with the policeman, similar pay with the teachers and all that. Harmonization of that had to, at some point, raise all these wages to some reasonable pay, and we are continuing to do more. Recently, with the discussions with the Salary and Remuneration Commission, we have again focused on another area which is very important for civil servants, is the allowances. Allowances were also distorted. We have quite a number of allowances in the civil service, all of them again not harmonized. We've now brought this into harmony, and the impact of that again is to raise allowances for sectors which were left behind. This again is just going to have an impact on our wage bill by additional 19.7 billion, which I intend in the next financial year to factor this. So a lot has been done in harmonizing the salaries. We have actually, in a way, raised salaries of civil servants. As you know, even with that, we still have a challenge of what we are now spending overall on the wage bill. As you know, we raised this issue last year.
The teachers would like to know, and quite a few have made this point, why is it that the wage bill is high when it comes to paying them and other groups? When it comes to paying politicians, the money is found to accommodate their demands?
I don't think that is really quite true, because when we had the first review with SRC, which started with state officers first, and that harmony was done right from the president's salary to MP salaries and all that. That was sort of done and harmonized. Then the next move was to deal with other civil servants. And that has been done. We are not saying that when this issue is raised, we are using it as a way of not discussing with the teachers. What we are saying is that let's look at what we are spending now. How much are we, from the resources that we can get from our taxes? 54% of that resources I'm spending on wages at the moment. Leaving just 47 for all these other things we have been talking we want to do, you know, ensuring free primary, funding county governments and all that.
But even the county governments have complaints.
Correct.
Which you will come to.
Obviously. And that's why we are saying is that, do you want us now to say that increase taxes?
Okay,
increase taxes to fund this. We don't want to go there because we know Kenyans are already overburdened on that.
Well, that's why I said, how do we want to split the cake? How much should go to recurrent expense and how much should go into development? How much really? Should we carry along? Should we be more gradual than radical?
We have actually legislated this. If you've not seen, we have legislated how much should go to recurrent development.
Yes.
In our public financial management law,
Yes.
is that at least 30% should be spent on development and not more than 70% on recurrent. Remember, we were coming with ratios where they were used to be 84% on recurrent. We've come down. We would, of course, do better with that. But that is why we need to address this wage bill issue very carefully. Not, as we grow, and we should provide, more resources for.
Yes, would we make an admission here that, well, an error was made in the first place?
Yes.
People were granted more pay and allowances. The others can't follow suit because we will crash. Then we begin from there. Because there's always that legitimate complaint that, look, people are better paid, why are we not? Yeah. People come and pass the legislation. MPs threaten and they get those allowances. In fact, they go through the back door and get what they demanded, and you refuse on the table, but you still give them through allowances.
Okay, the other people who are complaining, for instance, would be the police officers. They were promised increments. They've only received, I think, one set of the increments. So you have a history of ceding to politicians' demands, but sort of taking the other groups of public workers for granted.
I said earlier on that that was really the realization, and that is why the Salary and Remuneration Commission was created. If you see, the novelty of this constitution was to bring order. And if you look at what has been happening in the past, was that one sector goes on strike, they bargain under collective bargaining agreement, he raises the salary for that sector, be it teachers. Then you have the police who wants to catch up, everybody playing catch up and all that. The politicians again making their own changes in the legislation to introduce. This was realized, and that is why we had the Salary and Remuneration Commission, whose work was first to determine for the state officers, and the state officers are clearly it's already determined in the constitution with the state officers. So they determine their salary and advise on the salary for other public servants. Yes. Now, they have done that role. Of course, you will hear a lot of noise and say SRC should not be doing that, and yet we actually put in the constitution that they are mandated.
Okay.
What is the cost of ceding to the demands of teachers, police officers, and nurses? What would that do to the economy, to your numbers?
Really, it will cause a big damage. If you look at the pay demand that has been just brought in by what the teachers are asking, increasing this to the tune of 100 or 200% increase. Our analysis on that alone, if we were just to cede and pay, it will mean that we will spend almost 80 or 90% of our revenues on just salaries. Because what will happen is that when we just touch teachers' pay, you have to match that 200% for the police, other civil servants who are also waiting to increase, to match
let's
that.
Assume that you've already given the police theirs. Let's face the teachers. The teachers are saying, give us this increase. What is their demand amounting to right now, which you have refused? And how much of a dent will it be in the budget? The figures you said, we are now doing, I don't know what percentage you said, 54 of the revenues are going to salaries.
It will move to 90%.
No, that can't be true.
That is exactly what.
How much are they demanding? When you calculate, how much is it coming to?
Currently, the wage.
You had figures in the papers.
Yes.
Brings 265 billion. I don't know where that's coming from.
Yes. It's going towards now 300 billion for all the civil servants, and if we add what the teachers demand, it will move this to by another 225 billion. On that, above that. That is going by what?
One financial year.
I mean, if you have to implement this in one financial year, that is the impact.
But can you face it?
Yes, but still, it is not.
That they've been promised phased payments.
First, I think what is the important point here to note is not. Whenever there is a pay demand, you just have to service that, because ask yourself, you are just asking a similar question here. Can we have more resources also to other sectors? Can we do more on infrastructure?
But if the economy is growing at 6-7%, won't we have the resources to accommodate that salary increase? If
that's why we are saying is that
if our salary budget, okay, let's say our revenues are 1 trillion. Next year, perhaps it will be 1.5 trillion. So if you add in another 200 billion to accommodate the salaries, you still have sufficient money, and then you cut down on the development projects investment so that you can we must be happy in our state to keep going along. Rather than just
I'm surprised you are saying that we cut on development projects and finance.
No, I'm saying that's why I said, look at it. We prioritize. When do we want to have this development? Must we have it in 2 years? Must we have it in 5 years if we are going to die in the process of having development?
We have actually prioritized all this. What we are saying is that, when you look at sustainability of this, once you've already committed this as a pay rise, this will be there with you forever. And we are saying the current wage bill that we have, which is eating up to about 12 or 13% of our GDP, is not sustainable, because if we look at it vis-a-vis other countries where they're only spending 5%, now you are telling me, now I add that to move something to 15%, and you're justifying it by saying that because we want to address the problem. But we are saying yet, look, we are not opposed to improving teachers' welfare. I know the contribution of teachers to this economy. We earlier on said about the education sector, pre-primary, and the quality of education that we want. What we are saying is that what the SRC has done has harmonized all the pay, basic pay for all civil servants. And areas that are still hanging is on the allowances. Then let's harmonize that, put this package, implement. Then as the economy grows, the pay review, and they are just saying, they're asking for 8 months to do what they call job evaluation. So that they can determine, because the Constitution has some parameters: equity, fairness, productivity, and fiscal sustainability. Now, you want us to violate those. No, we don't want to do that. We are just saying, okay, let's evaluate the workload.
The problem is the equity part and the productivity.
The equity we have already
getting paid for doing
less.
The
equity has been achieved because, as I mentioned now, all basic pay has been harmonized. The next thing, allowances have been still distorted. As you say, teachers have not been getting leave allowance. We have said now we'll pay leave allowance. House allowance has been different between categories of public servants, and hardship allowance has never been reviewed, almost 20 plus years. We have reviewed that. All this impact is 19.6 billion that we want now to implement. Now, as we implement, the job evaluation gets us to the proper workload of teachers and everything. Then SSC advises on the next move on increasing the basic pay. And we take it up as we go.
Very quickly,
I would like to discuss the matter of expanding the cake.
Yes.
Apart from agriculture, there is a thing called industrialization.
Yes.
Which we were dealing with the other day with the General Motors person. This country is a Mutumba country. How do we industrialize when we are importing toothpick from China? How do we industrialize when we can't have our cows and the leather? We are buying Mutumba shoes, buying Mutumba clothes. How do we industrialize in this country?
Very important, and I just want to say that...
Please make it quick, because we still have to deal with the devolution.
Correct. Manufacturing sector has really stagnated just because of some of the issues that you have raised. And now we have had a very clear strategy on how to deal with the manufacturing sector. What has happened in this sector is that the cost of raw materials has been high. We have largely exempted most of the inputs for the production of this sector. This is ongoing, and we have done. The second thing is that the cost of doing business in this country. One is driven by the cost of power. We are not competitive, and as I said earlier on, if we have to pay 18 cents per kilowatt, or even run our farms here, factories, using a diesel generator, which costs 35 cents per kilowatt. Where will you produce a cloth like this? in such a setup. That's why the government has come up with a very clear strategy to reduce the cost of doing business in Kenya. One, focusing on energy. This is an area where before we have been handling ad hoc and say, okay, the power shortage, get a generator come in.
But is it only
now
energy? What about import?
I'm coming to that. The main fundamental issue has been the cost of energy, and I think this is what is happening now. It has come down by 30%. We see going forward with our 5,000 megawatts into the grid coming in.
Sorry, I'm under pressure to wind up, but there is this issue that we've got to address. Money to counties. We have heard that counties are not absorbing their funds. They complain that the monies from the Treasury come in late. Where do things stand?
The financing of counties, and I just want to say that we have, over the 1 year or so, we have managed to provide all the resources that
on time
required. Basically,
because it's not just the counties; it's even some of your colleague dockets, some of the ministries as well.
Let me say for the last financial year, I mean the financial year that ended in 2014. We remain on track. There could be delays, but some of the delays were because of their budgeting and all that delay. Yes, there were some 1 or 2 months that that we delayed, but some of them is that because they were accumulating also a lot of balances at the central bank, and we were saying, really, why would I borrow to finance other parts of the other sectors of the economy, yet money is lying idle at the central bank, which counties are not absorbing, and partly because of the challenges of their budgeting and also the absorption in development, because it takes time to implement development and procure. But at the close of the last financial year, there was about 45 billion lying at the center for county governments, and we were saying now, why can't we, absorb this fast? We know we are giving you money, you has already been allocated to you and all that. Some counties, yes, were moving very fast and all that. So that became a little bit of a challenge, the execution of their budgets and all. But largely, in terms of disbursement, we have, in this financial year, we have been on time, or as per the schedule that we agreed. And sometimes there could be a month or so difference, but we're also looking and managing that we don't want to keep idle funds, because it's becoming costly for us to continue with. So we look at county by county and say, look, absorb what you have first before you ask for the other disbursement. And that is how we have been working and ensuring that we don't keep idle funds.
But in terms of the balance, though, isn't it accurate to say that you're spending more on recurrent expenditure than on development?
Yeah, especially for the county governments, this is an area where we are now addressing in the next budget that they adhere to these rules that we have set. At least 30% goes to development and all. I think one of their budgeting that they did was not clear how they separated development and recurrent, and I think because also of establishing themselves. We are just in 1.5 months of devolution.
1.5 years.
1.5 years of devolution. There was a lot of, establishing yourself. There was a pressure for spending on recurrent because they had also to employ some of the staffing and all that.
Two things.
No. I'm under pressure to wind up. It's been great having you, and clearly there's a lot to talk about, and so we look forward to having you on Cheche sometime in the future. Our time is up.
Back next week.
The Treasury-CS Henry Rotich has been our guest this morning, demystifying a lot of these things we hear about our growing economy. Our thanks also David Makali and Mutegi Njau. You've been watching Cheche on Citizen TV. My name is Udwa Kamimo. Enjoy the rest of your week.